In this course, we will speak about child development and some problems that they have in cognitive functions, emotional functions, and so on. This course will deal with children who have real deficiencies or sometimes weaknesses in cognitive functions or another different functions. We will use Luria's approach to understanding these problems. Luria is a very well-known Russian neuropsychologist who developed the theory about three functional units in the brain and also discovered some basic brain mechanisms that which can explain some problems in cognitive development, not only in children but in adults. According to the Luria theory, we can see the cognitive functions as a quite difficult functional system, which consists of different parts or subcomponents, and these subcomponents is related to different brain areas or brain mechanisms. According to Luria's theory, we can divide brain on three functional units, and each functional units play special role in cognitive abilities. And now I will explain shortly about the influence of these parts on cognitive functions. So first of all, we can find the quite deep area on the brain that we call brainstem and subcortical areas. And according to the Luria's idea, we name these brain areas unit first unit, and we call this unit of activation. And the main role of this unit to maintain some tone of our brain. For example, special areas that we call reticular formation in the brainstem can change our consciousness state. For example, we can wake up when this system activates cortex of our brain, and we started to wake up. But when we go to sleep, this brain area will change our state, the level of activation of cortex, and it is good for go to sleep. Okay, and this unit plays very important role in cognitive functions too, not only in the consciousness, different level of consciousness, but also in different functions. For example, when you try to solve some problem, your cortex need to be have quite big activation. If it doesn't, it's not good. It will be very difficult to solve the problem very effectively. So this brain have a very important role in different cognitive functions, not only in the consciousness. And second unit of our brain, according to the Luria theory, we call this unit cognitive unit, or unit of sensory input and integrative processes. So this unit is very important for processing information that we can receive from the world. For example, here we have different areas, we call these sensory areas, that process different information, sensory information. For example, visual information in the visual cortex. Also, it is somatosensory information, that processing in the somatosensory cortex, and also auditory cortex that which process auditory information in. But if we divide audio information on verbal and non-verbal, in these functions, in this part of audio information, we have a different influence of left and right hemisphere. Right hemisphere process non-verbal audio information, but left hemisphere process verbal auditory information. And you can see here it's a special area that we call Wernicke's area that play important role in the early level of processing of verbal information. For example, phonetic processing. But in this unit, we also can find so-called associative areas of brain, and most important, these parietal associative areas that play very important role in the integration information that goes from three sensory areas, from somatosensory, from auditory, and from visual cortex. So in this area, this information integrates and constructs some model of our world. So we call this multimodal image of our world, because sensory cortex can only process information in one modality, for example, in visual or auditory or tactile or kinesthetic modality, but in associative areas, in parietal associative areas, here this information integrated in multimodal image or multimodal representation of the world. So this part of our brain, we can simply say that this is afferent part of our brain. This unit receive, integrate, and also storage information that we receive from the world. And third unit, according to the Luria theory, it is anterior part of our brain, or sometimes we call this frontal lobes. Frontal lobes. It is very special part of our brain that play especially important role in our human behavior, because here we have part that we call prefrontal cortex, which play a role in our ideas, what we would like to do, and our goals of our behavior, and also it is very important for regulation of our behavior. So prefrontal cortex, it is most, we can call it as most human part of our brain, human part. But also in this unit we can find so-called premotor areas and also motor cortex. Motor cortex play a role in organization of movement, and premotor cortex, it is part of functional unit, third functional unit that plays role in organization, quite not only movement but also language, especially when we speak about the production of language. Yeah? When we speak not only one words, but we use different words to construct sentences. So, and for this goal, very special role play areas that we call Broca's area. Broca's area that is part of premotor cortex. Okay, so it's a short introduction to the most important brain areas that play a role in cognitive functions or cognitive abilities. Very important to say that every cognitive functions needs contribution of all three functional units. So, for example, when you see something, or you not only use your visual areas in the occipital lobe, but also you try to move your eyes to see different parts of this picture, and for this you need to organize your behavior, your eye movement, and for this part you need to use prefrontal cortex and premotor cortex. Yes. But also to do this, your brain, your cortex need to be need to have quite good level of activation. And for this goal unit first unit plays a special role, because without influence of first unit our cortex will be quite insufficient in processing of different information, for example visual information. And when we speak about the problem in development of children, according to Lurier's theory, we need to understand which part of the brain have some deficiencies or weaknesses, and we can explain using these weaknesses different symptoms in syndrome that which can have a child. So our main goal in the next part of our course will be more carefully explain what role play different parts of our brain, different units and different mechanism of our brain in this in the problem in development of children. For example, in such problems as syndrome of ADHD, attention deficit and hyperactivity disorders, in autism, in some problems in language deficiencies, for example, specific language impairments, and so on. So it will be our main idea to try to explain these different disorders using our understanding of function of different brain mechanisms.